New today, the New York Times is reporting President Trump's sons stand to profit from a billion-dollar mining deal struck between the U.S. and Kazakhstan. The Times examined federal filings that show either President Trump's sons or Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's sons with financial ties to at least 14 companies working on government mining deals. A White House spokesperson responded to the report saying, quote, "The only special interest guiding the Trump administration's decision-making is the best interest of the American people." Well, here's Senator Bernie Sanders speaking yesterday at a Democratic convention.
The American people are tired of a president who is a pathological liar, who is an authoritarian personality who wants more and more power in his own hands, corrupt kleptocrat who accepts a $400 million luxury plane from Qatar and then makes deals with countries in the Middle East and around the world which benefit his family's wealth.
Joining me now is my friend Richard Stengel, MS Now political analyst, former Undersecretary of State, and former managing editor of Time magazine. You know, Rick, not that long ago, Republicans were up in arms. They were outraged. They were vocal about Hunter Biden allegedly profiting off his father's presidency, though they provided little evidence. Here, there seems to be a direct line. How do you interpret all this?
Yes, Alex. I mean, what we're seeing is something we've never seen before, which is corruption at scale. In other administrations, and you were talking about Richard Nixon earlier, he helped some of his friends, Bibi Rebozo and people like that, but it was kind of small-time stuff, a little bit of money here and there. This is a multi-billion-dollar insider trading conflict of interest regime. The government appropriated $1.6 billion for this company to help mine tungsten in Kazakhstan, and that is the company that Trump's sons are affiliated with. The thing that's, again, so confounding, and this has been true of Trump 1 and 2, is that they don't hide their corruption. I mean, in some ways, in this world that we used to live in, where people would try to protect a conflict of interest and not let it revealed, they let it be seen for the world, you know, to explore. And it's violations of conflict of interest laws. It's violation of the emoluments clause. But Congress isn't doing anything about it.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. You mentioned the transparency. I'm always somewhat floored when you have a White House response and they comment on something about saying this is the most transparent administration in history. Well, yeah, but in that regard, it's out in the open, and yet nothing is being done about it. How is that possible?
Well, it does bother me when I hear them say it's the most transparent administration in history, which is patently false. And they say that.
But relative to this, no, I mean, they're putting it out there.
Oh, yes.
We see it.
I mean, part of it is, and I know this sounds awful, is that I think they sort of don't know better. You know, someone like Mr. Lutnick, I would say, regards public service as a way of servicing his own fortune. I think that's partially why Donald Trump got into politics. He saw it as a way of increasing his net wealth, which it has, you know, in abundance. And, you know, the fact that Donald Trump calls a few reporters doesn't mean he has the most transparent and open administration in history.
No.
And by the way, he mostly says lies when he's talking to those reporters. So, I mean, transparency and the fire hose of falsehood don't really go well together.
So then what's your assessment of the way Vice President Vance and Speaker Johnson, they are seemingly embracing corruption as part of their midterm election messaging? How unusual is it to hear Vance saying Watergate wasn't a big deal, and then Johnson saying he will run protection against investigations into Trump donors, their friends and family?
You know, Alex, this is happening in our 250th anniversary year. And in fact, so much about modern America that is to be valued are, in fact, the laws and what happened post-Watergate, where we erected laws that protect against the kind of corruption that the Nixon administration did. And the Nixon administration seemed sui generis in American politics. It had never been so corrupt, not just ordering burglaries, but lying about it, and lots of internal corruption and conflicts of interest. But they actually probably knew better. I mean, Richard Nixon was a lawyer who had, worked in the Senate and the House. This administration seems to be embracing the dark side of Nixon rather than the more competent side of Nixon. And again, it's all through a lens of partisanship, that they regard any attack on illegality as a betrayal of their party. And if anybody attacks it within, they regard that as a betrayal. So this goes against all the values that we should be celebrating in our 250th year.
You mentioned that. It's the start of this big holiday week. America's celebrating 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And President Trump, he's scheduled to make appearances at a range of events. They're not organized by the America 250 Foundation, established by Congress. Instead, he's attending Freedom 250 events that his White House mixed public and private money to stage. So is this more of him making about himself? Did he miss an opportunity to bring this country together?
I think so, Alex. And I think certainly as people years ago envisioned what to do about the 250th anniversary, I was years ago the president of the National Constitution Center, and we started 20 years ago thinking about what to do about the 250th anniversary. I think, again, this is a self-inflicted wound. You could have just left it to Congress, left it to a nonpartisan group to do this and played some role in it, and that would have helped bring the country together. But as we will see, as we have seen, he turns everything into a partisan event and everything into an event about himself. So I think, unfortunately, that's why people are feeling ambivalent about the anniversary, because he's politicized it. He's made it about himself. He's made it about politics. And that's exactly what we shouldn't be celebrating.
Yeah. Can I just make a comment? In my 27 years here at this network, nobody has ever used the phrase sui generis on my broadcast. And I was like, dude, he's bringing Latin. I mean, nice going. I mean, we learned so much from you, my friend. I appreciate that. Anyway,
Thank you, Alex.
See you again soon. Okay, thank you.